There's a reason cemeteries feel different after dark. It isn't just the headstones. It isn't just the silence. It's the feeling that you're standing somewhere the living were never meant to linger. Tonight's stories are about three people, ordinary travelers, who didn't set out to provoke anything. They didn't chant, they didn't trespass, they didn't mock the dead. They only wanted to see. Three real cemeteries, three separate journeys, and three moments when curiosity quietly turned into fear. Because once you step into a place where thousands have been laid to rest, you may not be the only one who notices. Bachelor's Grove Cemetery is a historic cemetery in Bremen Township, Cook County, Illinois, surrounded by forest preserve land. It's also the setting for decades of ghost stories, phantom lights, apparitions, and the infamous White Lady lore that keeps coming up in retellings. And the place has had a long history of being treated like an attractive nuisance, drawing in thrill seekers and fueling the legends. Mara and Devin drove in from out of state on a weekend trip, one of those haunted Illinois bucket list runs. They didn't come to taunt anything. They came with rules. Be respectful, don't touch markers, don't trespass beyond what's allowed, and leave if it felt wrong. They arrived before full dark. Devin set a small tripod by the path and whispered, "Okay, record the whole time, no edits. If something happens, we'll know it wasn't us." They stepped closer to the cemetery fence line. Mara stopped. "Did you hear that?" Devin shook his head, probably the fence settling. But then the sound came again, this time 3 soft taps, spaced like someone thinking, tap, 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 and then nothing. They kept walking. A few minutes in, their light's beam skimmed across the stones. The ground looked uneven, patched with leaves and roots. Devin panned the camera slowly, narrating like a travel host. That's when Mara noticed something that made her stomach drop. Along the far edge, near where the trees thickened, there was a dim glow, not bright, not a flashlight, not a phone, more like a pale ember floating low. Mara hushed. "Do you see that?" Devin turned the camera. The glow didn't move like a person. It didn't bob with footsteps. It hovered and then slid sideways, smooth as if it was pulled on a string through the darkness. Devin whispered, "Okay, that's weird." Mara didn't answer, because the glow wasn't the scariest part. Behind it, just beyond the light, she saw the suggestion of a shape. Not a full figure, not clear enough to swear under oath, but enough to feel watched. And then the air temperature changed. That sounds dramatic until you experience it, the way your skin suddenly tightens, the way your breath feels louder than it should. Devin lowered the camera slightly. "We should go." Mara nodded too quickly. They began backing toward the path, keeping their lights aimed forward, and that's when Devin's camera picked up a sound their ears didn't fully register at first. Not leaves, not branches, gravel. 2 steps, then a pause, then 2 more. Mara's voice cracked. "Someone's out here!" Devin swung the beam toward the sound. Nothing, only trees. Then, right where the beam hit the fence, there was a smear of white, like fog pressed into a human outline, and it was gone before either of them could decide if they actually saw it. Devin cursed under his breath and started walking faster, and now the footsteps followed. Mara didn't run. She wanted to, but something in her refused, like running would admit this was real. They reached the car. Devin fumbled the keys. Mara climbed in first, slamming the door so hard the window rattled. Devin slid into the driver's seat, turned the key, and the engine didn't start. Once, twice, a third time. Mara stared at the rearview mirror, whispering, "Don't look, don't look." But she did. For a fraction of a second, the mirror filled with a pale blur, like a figure standing too close to the back of the car. Mara screamed. Devon turned the key again. The car started. They pulled out so fast the tires spit gravel. Devon didn't speak until the trees thinned and the world looked normal again. Then he said one sentence, "I'm never going back at night." Mara stared ahead, shaking, and quietly, so quietly the camera barely picked it up, she said, "I don't think it wanted us there." Highgate Cemetery was established in 1839, later expanded, and is now known for its architecture and history with tens of thousands of graves and around 170,000 burials. And in the late 1960s and 1970s, it became wrapped in the sensational folklore of the Highgate vampire. Reports of strange figures, press attention, and a wave of occult panic that turned into a cultural phenomenon. Elliot was visiting London alone. He's just one of those travelers who books museums in the morning and walks old streets until his feet hurt. He'd heard Highgate described as breathtaking and unnerving. He booked a daytime visit because he wasn't reckless. He was just curious. By late afternoon, the light changed. It didn't feel like evening. It felt like the day was being swallowed. He wandered near the older sections, stonework that looked carved for another world. And then he noticed it, the sound of someone walking behind him. He stopped. The footsteps stopped. He turned. No one was there. Elliot laughed under his breath. "Okay, I'm doing it. I'm scaring myself." He kept walking. A few moments later, he passed an archway where the air felt cooler, almost refrigerated, one of those pockets of cold you can explain with shade and stone, but still. He raised his phone to take a photo. That's when the screen flickered. Not the battery, not the app. The image itself warped for a split second, like something moved too fast in front of the lens. Elliot lowered the phone and frowned. Behind him, the footstep sound returned. He turned sharply, expecting a tourist. Nothing. He told himself the truth. Old places echo, wind moves through passages, your brain fills in missing pieces. Then he heard something else. A sound like breathing. Not his. Close. Too close. Elliot's skin tightened. He took one step backward, and from the corner of his eye, he saw a figure at the end of the path. Tall, still, dark against the stone. Not a clear face, not a clear body, but a presence that looked wrong in the space, like a shadow standing upright. Elliot blinked. The figure was gone. He exhaled, shaky. Nope. He turned to leave, and as he moved, a hush fell over everything. Birds, distant city noise, even the wind. The silence felt deliberate, like something had pressed a finger to the world and said, "Quiet." That's when he heard the whisper. Not a voice in his head, a whisper in the air. Elliot froze. He spun around. "Hello?" No answer. But something scraped behind him, stone against stone, like a step shifting. He backed away faster, not running but moving with purpose. He refused to look over his shoulder again. And then his phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out. A missed call from an unknown number. The timestamp was 1 minute in the future. Elliot stared at it confused and then laughed because it was absurd. But the laugh died when he looked up. Across the path, half hidden by ivy, was that tall shadow again, closer this time. Elliot didn't wait to confirm it. He walked out of that section with his heart hammering, and he didn't stop until he saw other visitors. Only then did the world sound normal again. On the bus back to his hotel, Elliot opened his photo gallery. There it was, the picture he tried to take. But the photo wasn't of the archway. It was a blurred image of dark stone and a shape that looked like a person's outline standing far too close to the camera. Elliot deleted it instantly, then sat there staring at his reflection in the window, thinking one thought over and over. What if it wasn't trying to scare me? What if it was trying to get noticed? Stull is a real place in Kansas, and Stull Cemetery has gained an ominous reputation through urban legends involving Satan, occult stories, and gate-to-hell claims, stories that were popularized in the 1970s, including a frequently repeated rumor about the devil appearing on Halloween and the spring equinox. Whether you believe any of it is true or not, the legend has become part of American paranormal folklore. Jessa and her brother Ryan were road tripping, small towns, weird history stops, and diner coffee. Ryan didn't believe in ghosts. Jessa didn't claim she did either. But she'd heard the Stull legend so many times that it felt like a dare the internet had written directly to her. They didn't plan a midnight visit. They weren't trying to be disrespectful. They wanted to see it from the road, get a photo of the hill, and move on. But Kansas roads at night have a way of turning simple plans into long detours. Their GPS rerouted, then lost signal, then recalculated again, and somehow, without meaning to, they ended up on a road that felt like it didn't want company. Trees leaning inward, darkness thick as smoke. Jessa, nervous laugh. "This feels like a horror movie." Ryan smirked. "You're fine." Then their headlights swept across something pale on the side of the road. A shape. A person. Jessa gasped. "Stop!" Ryan hit the brakes. The car rolled to a halt, idling. In the beams, a figure stood near the ditch, still facing away. The clothes looked old-fashioned in a way Jessa couldn't explain. Ryan leaned forward. "Hey, you okay?" The figure didn't move. Jessa's mouth went dry. "Don't get out." Ryan scoffed, but his hand stayed on the wheel. He flicked the brights. For one clear second, the figure was fully illuminated. And then it wasn't there. Not walked away, not stepped into the trees. Gone. Ryan's smirk vanished. "Okay, that was weird." Jessa whispered, "Drive." Ryan pressed the gas. The car moved forward, and the road curved. Up ahead, the hill rose, a darker patch of night against the sky. And there it was, a small cemetery silhouette. Jessa's heart pounded. "That's it." Ryan slowed without thinking. They stayed inside the car. They didn't cross any gates. They didn't step onto the property. They just sat there, staring, while the night pressed against the windows. Then the radio turned on. Ryan jerked. "I didn't touch it." The station wasn't music. It wasn't talk radio. It was static, with something woven through it, like voices trying to form words. Jess's eyes filled with tears for no logical reason. "Turn it off." Ryan reached for the knob and twisted. The volume didn't change. He twisted again. Nothing. The voices seemed to swell, not louder exactly, but clearer, like they were learning how to use the sound. Jessa covered her ears. "Please stop." Ryan slammed the power button. The radio clicked off. Silence. 2 seconds of silence. Then 3 loud knocks on the car roof. Knock, knock, knock. Jessa screamed. Ryan ducked instinctively, then looked around wildly. What was that? Jessa was shaking so hard her seatbelt rattled. Ryan shouted into the darkness, "Who's there?" No answer. But on the windshield, right where the glass met the air, fog bloomed, like breath. It was cold outside, so fog could happen, but this wasn't spreading from the edges. It formed in the center, and as it formed, it shaped itself into something that looked disturbingly like a handprint. Jessa sobbed, "Go! Go!" Ryan floored it. The car lurched forward, tires spitting gravel. As they sped away, the fog handprint faded like it had never been there. They drove in silence for miles. Eventually, cell signal returned, GPS came back, the road widened, the trees backed off. Ryan finally spoke, voice flat. "I still don't believe in ghosts." Jessa stared at the darkness beyond the headlights. "Then what do you call that?" Ryan didn't answer. He just drove faster. 3 cemeteries, 3 travelers, and 3 nights where the line between legend and lived experience felt dangerously thin. Bachelor's Grove, where the woods seemed to watch back. Highgate, where history and Gothic rumor collided into a modern myth. And Stull, where an urban legend refuses to die, no matter how many times it's debunked. If you want more real haunted locations and chilling legends, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because on this channel, sometimes they continue to speak.